Hello and welcome to another franchise review. In preparation of the prequel Prey coming out on Disney Plus and Hulu, I watched the Predator films for the first time. So today I will be reviewing Predator from 1987, Predator 2 from 1990, Predators from 2010, and The Predator from 2018. I did not and have not seen Alien vs. Predator, so if you do want to see me cover those films, please leave a comment down below and maybe I'll do that at some point. Let's get this show started with Predator from 1987. Dutch, a soldier of fortune, is hired by the US government to secretly rescue a group of politicians trapped in Guatemala. But when Dutch and his team, which includes weapons expert Blaine and CIA agent George, land in Central America, something is gravely wrong. After finding a string of dead bodies, the crew discovers they are being hunted by a brutal creature with superhuman strength and the ability to disappear into its surroundings. This is available for streaming on Disney Plus in Canada and Hulu in the United States. The opening of this film on the beach reminded me of the opening of Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I could see why they thought an Alien and Predator crossover would work, since both of those films are somewhat similar tonally, although from what I've heard, it didn't work as expected. The scenes where they showcase the Predator's point of view help differentiate this film from Alien, along with its setting. This one is in the jungle versus on a spaceship. And the characters. In this film, it's soldiers. In that film, it's scientists and astronauts. Arnold Schwarzenegger has some of the most quotable lines of 80s action movies coming out of this film in particular. One of Arnold's lines that I found quite funny is when he mentions his team is not expendable, and then later in his career, he stars in The Expendables. Despite Arnold's highly quotable lines, there's quite a lot of misogynist dialogue in this movie. The misogynist dialogue left me rooting for the Predator to kill those specific soldiers, specifically the one played by Shane Black. Lucky for me, the worst characters are among the first to die. I also noticed some similarities with the score of Back to the Future and this film, which makes sense considering they share the same composer. One scene that didn't really work for me was where the soldiers waste their ammo by getting all trigger happy on their enemy, the Predator, while it's retreating. Counterbalancing that scene was the incredibly awesome 1v1 with Arnold and the Predator. It was a battle with very personal stakes for both of them. Arnold because the Predator killed his team, and the Predator because Arnold made him bleed. I rated this film a 4 out of 5. Now let's move on to Predator 2 from 1990. Los Angeles is enduring a heat wave and a crime wave, so the pressure is on police officer Michael Harrigan to solve a strange string of murders is mounting. That's a poorly worded sentence, but not something I wrote. Harrigan thinks the culprit can be found among the warring gangs and drug cartels, but FBI Special Agent Peter Keyes knows the horrible truth. Their killer is a fearsome extraterrestrial with keen hunting abilities that include superior night vision and the power to make itself invisible. This is available for streaming on Disney Plus in Canada and Hulu in the United States. I found this to be horribly written and rushed, likely to capitalize on the success of the original. I found the premise of Predator in the City quite outrageous and completely stupid. There are also laughably bad death scenes. This felt almost as poor quality as a made-for-TV movie, and I could almost see this going straight to streaming if it were made today. My biggest question while watching the movie is where the Predators come from, since it seemed as though they killed the only one in the original film. I mean, it's not a big deal. I especially wondered why it took 10 years for another Predator to come to Earth. This film is generally tensionless and boring in comparison to the original. I originally rated this a 1.5 out of 5, but I've since bumped it up to a 2 out of 5, comparing it to the future films. Now let's move on to the third film, Predators, from 2010. Brought together on a mysterious planet, a mercenary and a group of cold-blooded killers now become the prey. A new breed of aliens pursues the ragtag humans through dense jungle. The group must work together to survive or become the latest trophies of the fearsome intergalactic hunters. This is available for streaming on Disney Plus in Canada and on Hulu in the United States. The CGI when the characters are falling out of the sky holds up about as well as Temple of Doom, which is a film that came out 26 years earlier, so not very well. At least they took it back to its roots in the jungle. This film is very much like if you took Predator and mixed it with The Hunger Games, or Battle Royale would be another potential comparison, but I personally haven't seen that. It should be probably on my list to see it at some point. This was quite a generic action movie from the 2010s. The new creatures they introduced in this film are actually well designed, yet they're poorly rendered. It took 38 minutes for a predator to show up in this film. I know that it took a while in the first film, but I think the earlier setup was a lot better in that original film. I was also unsure if this film erased Predator 2 from its canon, since it only mentions the invasion of 1987. In terms of actors, I guess they felt as though Walton Goggins' character could say some of the most perverted things since he's a convicted felon. His character makes rape jokes, as one of the example, that aren't funny and never are, and are completely uncalled for, as always. That does mean that this film does give me a similar feeling to the original Predator, in that I rooted for a specific character to be killed by the Predator. Also, I could see Topher Grace's character turn from a mile away, considering that if everyone is a Predator, something's got to be wrong with this guy. The one fight I did really enjoy from this movie was the fight between the Yakuza and the Predator. It was well choreographed and had artistic framing, especially their deaths. One thing that I will mention is they don't really treat their POC characters well at all, although these films never really do, so that's something that needs to change in this industry, and I think it has started changing. I originally rated this film a 3 out of 5, but have since bumped it down to a 2.5 out of 5. Now let's move on to the decades later, somewhat reboot sequel, I guess, The Predator from 2018. From the outer reaches of space to the small-town streets of suburbia, the hunt comes home. The universe's most lethal hunters are stronger, smarter, and deadlier than ever before, having genetically upgraded themselves with DNA from other species. When a boy accidentally triggers their return to Earth, only a ragtag crew of ex-soldiers and an evolutionary biologist can prevent the end of the human race. This is available for streaming on Disney Plus in Canada, or rent or purchase in the United States. The special effects were actually pretty good compared to Matrix Resurrections, although later on it did look like they ran out of money with the poorly rendered giant predator and space dog at about the 1 hour and 10-minute mark. I did wonder if this film erased predators from canon, only bringing back the predator dogs. This film reminded me of another film that I found terrible, Alien Covenant, which also had great visuals. That film actually had better visuals than this one, but a terrible script. It relies way too much on nostalgia, which makes sense since the director, Shane Black, was in the first movie. Callbacks in this film included calling the Predator both one beautiful and one ugly MFer, and get to the choppers, although this time in relation to motorcycles instead of a helicopter. There is also a character in this film with the last name Keyes, so probably referencing Peter Keyes, I believe, from Predator 2. It was also quite over-expository and a generic nostalgia bait film. There were also many ableist moments. One such thing was they had stupid and generally unfunny jokes about the character with Tourette's saying inappropriate things that, again, weren't funny. Also, Olivia Wilde's character told Rory, a kid on the autistic spectrum, to turn down his psychosis, just so you know, in relation to his meltdown. And this film also used the ableist R slur. Just a trigger warning for those who are affected by this. I rated this a 1 out of 5, which is lower than I rated Alien Covenant. In terms of my ranking of these films, obviously it's fairly easy to tell, but I'll just go over it right now for you. And at number 4 is The Predator. At number 3 is Predator 2. At number 2 is Predators, and at number 1, obviously, is the original Predator film. At some point when it comes out, I will be watching the Prey film. I don't know that I'll make a video on it. Maybe if I find I have a lot to say about it, I'll make a video for it on TikTok, because that's where I do just completely one film review. And I'll post a link in the description of this video if I do. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, hit the subscribe button. If you have any suggestions or information you'd like to share, maybe your feelings on this film, on any of these films, or your feelings on Prey when it comes out, although no spoilers because I may not be able to see it right away, please leave a comment down below. My next video, I'm not too sure what I'm going to be doing because I'm going to be traveling. I'm actually on the road right now. So we'll see what happens. It has to be something that is available where I am going to be. So it will likely be something on streaming and only on streaming. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll have to go through my list of franchises that I want to do reviews of. And I'll keep you posted on that news. Thanks again for watching, and let's watch more movies.